Heels World.
What is up, Heels World? It's your boy Heel, and I am back with a new video. So, in a couple of hours from now, it will be TNA SLAMMIVERSARY live on pay-per-view. TNA's second biggest show of the year. In my opinion, personally, I say this every year. This should be their biggest show of the year. I know it's Bound for Glory, and Bound for Glory is like their WrestleMania, but to me, based off the name itself, Slammiversary is the anniversary show. 14 years in the making for TNA here. Been around for 14 years. This should be their biggest show of the year. This should be their WrestleMania, in my personal opinion. But this will not be a prediction video. I've seen everyone that watch TNA that I'm sub to doing prediction videos, and the last thing I want to be is another person doing a prediction video. This will be more like me giving my thoughts on the card. I will be doing a live stream at the end of the pay-per-view, giving my thoughts on the event and taking your live calls and giving your thoughts. Did you enjoy the show? Did you thought it was great? Did you thought it was bad? Did you thought it was brutal and all that fun stuff? You see, it's that fan interaction that I have with you guys here, you know? But again, this card on paper, I'll be very honest, is very, very intriguing. There's matches on this card that I'll tell you right now that I'm looking forward to seeing. And then there's matches on this card that I'll be very honest, I can give two flying fucks for. But I'm going to work my way from the bottom to the top because right now I'm currently on Wikipedia. And here we go. So the first match I see is Jade versus Sienna for the TNA Knockouts Championship. Jade being Mia Yim defending her title against Sienna. Sienna is part of that faction with Maria Kanellis, who is currently running the Knockouts division in TNA, and Allie, aka Cherry Bomb. She won this opportunity to face Jade for the title on the Go Home show on Impact this past Tuesday. She beat Madison Rayne. Now, it was kind of impromptu, random if you ask me, with not that much of a build, but I think these two women out there could have a very good match. I'm not saying this will start the show, but you know, one thing about TNA is their women's wrestling is always second to none, and I expect nothing less. Then you have a fatal 4-way for the X Division title. Trevor Lee defending his title against Andrew Everett versus Eddie Edwards and versus DJZ. Now, the X Division, I'll be very honest, currently in TNA is a shell of its former self, and right now, from what I look at, it's more in that developmental process to be built back again. But at the same time, being that it's Slammiversary, one of the biggest shows of the year, why just have a fatal 4-way match? You try to tell me you can't do an Ultimate X match for the X Division title? You know, again, the X Division is what put TNA on the map. It's one of the bread and butters of TNA. And I personally feel that a fatal 4-way to me is just bland. Don't get me wrong, I like all four guys here. And I'm kind of rooting for Eddie Edwards. I'm hoping that he does win. I think he deserves it. And yeah. Then we have a open challenge, if you will. Braxton Sutter, aka Pepper Parks, facing someone to be announced. It's crazy because I think online I saw a while back it was supposed to be James Storm. I'm not sure if it's going to be him. But overall, though, Pepper Parks is always an amazing talent to see. And I can't wait to see what else he does in TNA. I'm calling it now. If anything, in a year from now, he'll be the King of the Mountain champion. We also got Maria Kanellis versus Gail Kim. Apparently, that match won't be happening because apparently Maria broke her hand. So now the question is, who will replace Maria? Because I'll be honest, I didn't think Maria would wrestle either, to be honest. I personally feel Allie, aka Cherry Bomb, will replace Maria Kanellis in this match, and we'll see Gail Kim versus Allie again. And to be honest here, Gail Kim wins. Or Gail Cena. Don't get me wrong, I like Gail Kim. I think Gail Kim is beautiful, a talented wrestler, all you want. But every time I see her wrestle, it's like she always wins. She's like, again, the John Cena of the Knockouts division in TNA. And then we have a tag team match, which I don't know why it's even on this pay-per-view. This should be more like the pre-show, if you will. We have the Tribunal, Basley Baraka and Baron Dak, formerly known as Sylvester LaFour and Marcus Louis from NXT, along with Al Snow versus Grado and Mahabali Shera. Okay, Why oh why are we giving Mahabali Shera pay-per-view time is beyond me. I love Grado, don't get me wrong, but I feel like Grado's gimmick is more for the independents, not for mainstream television, especially pay-per-view. This should be more, again, on the pre-show, or not nick the match. I get it, you want to debut this new tag team, or give them that pay-per-view time. Let me correct myself here, in the Tribunal, and I think they should win, but at the same time, I feel like, you know, you could have this on the pre-show or the opening match, but at the same time, you could nix this match and give more time to the X Division or the Knockouts title match, in my personal opinion. Then we have Eli Drake versus Bram for the King of the Mountain title. It's crazy. It's a King of the Mountain title match at SLAMMIVERSARY, and it's not in a King of the Mountain match. It's Eli Drake and Bram, two guys that I like also. Eli Drake has kind of grown on me over time, and I like his gimmick. I like his shtick. It's nothing personal. It's just the fact of life. And I like Bram too. I think I said it last year. I thought Bram at this time in TNA would be fighting for the world title. I know he's been going through a lot of shit with domestic abuse, what have you. But nonetheless, two talented guys here. And I think, again, you know, Eli Drake is on a momentum right now, and they should not fuck that up. But then again, it's TNA. And at times, they could fuck things up just like that. And then we have the Decay, Abyss, and Crazy Steve versus the Bromans for the tag team titles. Why oh why, I don't know. But it should be, I guess, an interesting match. I'll be honest, I'm not really into this, but it is what it is. Then you have a match that I am looking forward to seeing, what you see on the screen, Mike Bennett versus EC3 in a singles match. This should be the co-main event. On Impact this past Thursday, they showed like a weigh-in, like if you were like an MMA, where like in the UFC, like the day before the fight, they do the weigh-ins, and they had this whole setup on Impact, or I think somewhere Universal Studios, the whole, you know, background, like a weigh-in theme. You had Josh Matthews being like Joe Rogan, telling everyone the weight of EC3 and Michael Bennett. You had them come on the scale. And honestly, what I would have done if I was TNA here, if you want to give it that fight feel like they do in the UFC or MMA, have the weigh-in clip posted on the YouTube channel instead of Impact, literally on Saturday, the day before the pay-per-view, to give it that fight feel. But nonetheless, this should be a very exciting match. This should be the co-main event, in my personal opinion. This is part of EC3's Road to Redemption. You know, Michael Bennett was the guy that pretty much ended the streak of EC3, the undefeated streak, not being pinned, not being submitted. And EC3 had to go through his road to redemption to get a rematch against Michael Bennett. And he faced his old, you know, familiar faces that he faced in the past, from Rockstar Spud to Tyrus to Matt Hardy. And it took EC3 to become the general manager for a night to get a rematch against Michael Bennett. But nonetheless, this should be a very, very exciting match. I can't wait to see this match, to be very, very honest here. To me, this will be the match of the night in TNA. My personal opinion for this pay-per-view. And then we have Jeff Hardy versus Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy as Dr. Emmett Brown 2.0 and Jeff Hardy as Brother Nero in a Full Metal Mayhem match. Okay, based off that video package that we saw that everyone's been talking about, I feel like this is the reason why a lot of people are tuning in. At the same time, let's be honest, do people really want to see another Hardy versus Hardy match? No. Do you think I want to see Jeff Hardy trying to outdo Shane McMahon's WrestleMania 32 Hell in a Cell jump? No. At the end of the day, I feel like this should not be the co-main event. Honestly, don't get me wrong, I love the Hardy Boys. But at the same time, why are they still fighting? Why? It's just, you know, something I scratch my head to. But nonetheless, for what it is, you know, it is what it is. You know, I feel like these two guys were the reason why, again, a lot of people are tuning in to the pay-per-view. Got a lot of eyeballs. Whether it's good or bad, it's still got eyeballs on the pay-per-view and people considering to buy it or watch it any way, shape possible. But you kind of get my drift here. But it is what it is. Then we have the main event, Drew Galloway versus Lashley for the TNA World title, where you can only win by either knockout or submission. So it's like an MMA fight here. And being that Lashley is the MMA fighter, if you will, he fights in Bellator in the heavyweight division. This should be a very, very good match. I can't wait to see it. I think Lashley should come out on top here, and it'll be stupid if he doesn't, because again, this is his stipulation, if you will. Everything's in his favor. So how could he lose? But again, nonetheless, this should be a very, very interesting pay-per-view. It could be good. It could be bad. It could be what the fuck did I just see? But nonetheless, I'm going to sit back and watch everything play out. And then do a live review and take your calls and all that fun stuff. Drop me your comments down below if you're excited for TNA SLAMMIVERSARY. Follow me on Twitter at HeelSteven. What match do you want to see more, if anything, on this pay-per-view? If you want to support this channel and the TNA podcast and that extra mile and get yourself some cool rewards and a future shout out on a future live stream, become a patron over on Patreon, patreon.com/TNA podcast. And as always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Until next video, I'm HeelSteven, signing off.